tune, okay? So, if we're starting with you, you play. We'll do this again, but we'll do it again. Play your beat. Play your F sharp. No, play your beat. Adjust. You're sharp. Instantaneous adjustment, we can go around and we can make sure we stay in the same place all the way through. Now, if you feel like you have to make an adjustment, recognize this, that you're not as likely to make that adjustment when you get to be worried about the piece. So therefore, what a person needs to do is learn to play and tune in the same place. This is really tricky because most people play in one place and tune in another. This sounds really strange, doesn't it? But it's what happens. So we want to make sure that we get used to playing in the same place that we tune. Cool. Now introduce yourself.
Hi, we are the Columbia Junior High School Quartet. This is CC Led, Paul Geisler, Liam Geisler, and I'm Jacob Madian. We will be playing the Three Chances.
Okay. it pretty fast, and if I say it, and it goes like, fring, then ask.
Yeah.
Make a comment, okay? Interpretation, good. Make sure the music goes forward. We want to travel with the music going forward. We're doing 3/4. We are almost always going to the downbeat of the measure, and then everything after the downbeat of the measure is a pick up to the next downbeat of the measure. Unless we have 16th notes, in which case things change. But if it's quarter notes and eighth notes, we're almost always going to be doing that. Make the music flow. And last but that's what I want to list on the interpretation side of things. Guys did a great job. Okay, I gave you 1+. I'll tell you that right now. You did a great job. Can't get higher score than that. Okay, that's it. You did the best. But now here is the thing. You have a whole bunch of little things that you've got to start to learn to do. If you do, and I'm going to read what I put in the last, keep this going and state looms large. Okay, I mean that's quite sincerely. You guys are doing a really good job, solid. But you have a lot of these little things that have to be worked out, like making music travel forward. Getting out of the way when somebody has long notes and somebody else has the melody. It happened to everybody who had the tune. There was always somebody else who had longer notes, who was just as loud, if not louder. So what happens then? Do we hear the melody coming in? No. I know you guys know that. I can tell that it is. I can tell that sometimes you were thinking about it, but sometimes it just kind of like overwhelmed you, and you had to play out. That F sharp was just, ah! I understand that, but unfortunately, we still have to kind of like get out of the way. That's just the reality is. Tone intonation, pretty good. Keep the pitch of the tuning the same as the pitch in the playing, and the other way around. Don't play in a different place than you tune, in essence. Keep it in the same place. We talked about that briefly before. Good ensemble work, make sure you can see one another and you actually do look at one another. Okay? And you actually do look at one another. This is an important thing. Last but not least on that thing, keep the beat notes on the beat. Okay? Now in the last movement, you did a real job of that when you had to suddenly come in on the beat. That was excellent. The second movement was not as clearly defined. Okay? Yeah. Why was that? Because you weren't sure where the beats were. And who had the beats? How's that for a straight out comment? So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you know who's got the notes on the beat. And if you have notes on the beat and somebody else has notes on the beat, what those notes sound like when they're on the beat, so they land boom on the beat. Because that's the important thing. Especially in dodge movements. That's hard. Technique. And this is a biggie. Avoid tonguing. Things that in or with your tongue clipping off the note. Unless it's a special event. Special events I can kind of go with sometimes. But as general events, you want to avoid it. Second thing, avoid the slap tongue. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. You've all heard it. I'll just leave it at that. Avoid the slap tongue. Okay? You with me on that? Yeah. Because you sound much better than that. You sound like a much older group than that. Okay? Much more developed. Great piece, and I've already told you everything else. So, questions? That's it? Good job. Thanks.